What's happening now across the Niagara frontier? News stories, old stories, stuff you know about and stuff you'd never believe. It's the Niagara Hub Soapbox with Craig Avery.
All right, actually, it's a Thursday afternoon. It started to rain, and we have two of our friends stopped in to say hello. And this is kind of cool because we have council candidate Alicia Laible and Niagara County legislator in District 5.
Yes, sir.
Jason Zona. So maybe we can talk just about some county-city things. You know, how does the county and city work together? How don't they work together? What can we do? What can you do as a council candidate or as a successful after the election council person to work with the county, and how can we both got Niagara in the name, so we got to be somewhere.
We have four county legislators that represent the city. Myself, Dennis Virtuoso, Owen Steed, and Mark Grozio represent different parts of the city. In fact, we're the only 4 Democrats on the county legislature. So right now, depends on what you're talking about. How do the county and the city work together? Our last episode of issues involved casino money. That didn't go over so well. The legislature decided to exclude Niagara Falls from any casino funding due to the fact that they have already casino money from the home being in the exclusivity zone. The county gets their own share right now, and the city, being the home area, gets a large share already. So that was a bit of a battle. I think we're beyond that right now. If you're working through the Economic Development Department, there's a lot of issues where the county and city are working together on projects. Through the IDA, obviously, anyone that's doing a large project in Niagara Falls goes to the county IDA for assistance. So it depends on where. I'm hoping that this gets better, and that the county looks at Niagara Falls as a kind of a beacon in an area, for development for the county, and a economic engine, not as a drain on the county.
I think that kind of goes into a little bit of what we spoke about earlier in accountability. And when it comes to the IDA, talking about IDA reform and holding some of these businesses accountable. So if we're giving you these tax breaks, then ensuring that you're also meeting your benchmarks as well. If you're supposed to have so many jobs, and making sure that those jobs are in place. If we've held up to our end of the bargain, you need to hold up to your end as well.
It's a big issue with the labor groups we work with too, the clawback clauses that they want put in with any kind of IDA reform, that if you're not meeting those, you have to return the tax, the tax breaks you're getting down the road. So it's something that needs to be negotiated down the road. We had a little bit 2 years ago of some IDA reform involving using local workers, but it kind of stalled after that. So we have to kickstart the whole IDA reform thing again.
Now, the city really doesn't get involved with IDA issues, right?
No.
Should they?
I think, though, as a council member and representative of the city, you sometimes have the ear of people who can help make those decisions, and you are able to work closely with those individuals. And if I'm able to represent Niagara Falls as a whole, and I've heard from our residents that this is a concern of theirs, then I'm able to act as a mediator even, and say, this is something that's very important to us and something that needs to be worked on.
That's cool, and that would help the cause if you go to your friends in the county and say, hey, I'm a councilman and I really am behind this, and okay, that's cool.
Yeah, there has to be more, there certainly should be more communications between both entities. We don't see a lot of it right now. I'm in a unique situation where I represent half my districts in the city, half's in the town of Niagara. So pretty much spent the last 2 years working on a ton of issues in town of Niagara. When we've had town of Niagara IDA issues. Certainly the sales tax was a major issue I went through last year that the town of Niagara comes to. I worked very closely with Sylvia Virtuoso, but you don't really get a lot from the Niagara Falls, from whether it be the mayor's office or the city council, looking for assistance. They kind of go at it alone, and whether that's the best way to go, I don't know. I think we can do a better job working together on making this area what it should be.
I think that it should be the overall goal of all of us, is to break down those silos and do a better job of working together between the city council and the ledge, or the city council and the department heads, the the mayor's office. I think one of the issues is that sometimes everyone's looking at someone to blame. So we kind of keep the information we have right here and stop sharing it with each other. Accountability has been a really big issue recently, and trying to figure out who's to blame for what. And while we're all blaming each other, the people that are suffering are the residents of this city. And I think that's something we need to work against. One of the things on the council that I'd like to bring into it is my background in the private sector. I know that in my job, if I'm not meeting my goals, and if I'm not doing my job, if I'm not bringing in revenue, if I'm doing a poor job of negotiating contracts, whatever it might be, I'm going to get fired, And I think that that's something that we need to start looking at within our own government. Are the people we have in place right now doing a good job? Are they meeting our needs? And if they're not, then let's start looking elsewhere.
I think we're seeing, just in the attendance at council meetings, that more and more citizens are getting involved.
The public's getting awoken to what's gone on over the last couple of years, and they're angry, and rightfully so. I mean, I look at this issue with the water board, and look, I'm someone who's had some back and forth with the water board over some issues. I have residents contact me about the availability fee that they have, that ridiculous fee that they charge you because you can get water even if you don't have any water service. And when they contact me, I'll go speak to the water board. It's not my issue with the county, but it is that these people elect me to represent them. If I have to stick my nose in something maybe I shouldn't, I do it. And now it's some of the things that the other side criticizes me on. I'm very outspoken on issues. That's never going to change. And the way I look at this situation now with the especially the 72nd Street part of the water problems. I mean, that's a new street that just was done. The fact that this is dragged on for 2 years, no, I don't know who's to blame. And really, I'm kind of at the point, I don't care. At this point, the water board, who is in charge of the infrastructure problems, needs to fix the problem. Whether it means bond it, and take care of it, fix the problem, and have water running to these houses during the winter. This is. I mean, if this was my house, I don't know how I would handle it. It's outrageous. It's just like if you had water issues in your house right now and you're in the middle of winter, and it was a house issue and you're broke, you're going to have to get it fixed one way or the other. You're not just going to go homeless. You're going to have to, the issue has to be, you fix the problem, and then you have to deal with, this isn't something that's something you want, it's a need.
Well, the houses are condemnable if there's no water. So,
absolutely.
You really shouldn't even be living in that.
And I hear that a lot. Well, how are these people? I guess what they're doing is they're running house to house water to keep them going, but that's not acceptable.
No.
The issue needs to be resolved. So,
I think that the Gazette said it best in their article today when they were talking about the potential of the city taking over the water board again. That we can't maintain the status quo, and that's the biggest thing right now. I mean, we have to move away from that. And is it the solution to the problem? Not sure yet, but it's definitely worth exploring. And I think that's the biggest thing.
That's certainly something you never rush into.
No,
the amount
definitely
of debt
not.
that water authority holds
There's a lot of issues with it, especially with that debt. I mean, it was created for a reason to begin with. There was a large debt that couldn't be restructured under the city. It had to be restructured under a different entity. How much is left on that debt? Where would that put us? Is it something we could even take on? There's a lot still up in the air about this, but it's still worth exploring the possibility and, exploring any other possibilities as well, because it's very clear that how we're currently operating is not working.
We touched on the council meetings. How do you've been to the city council meetings as well as your own? How do you compare the two as far as the citizens' involvement? Does the county get a lot of people?
No. Well, one thing the county does is they do a good job suppressing people from speaking with some of the actions. I mean, recently we just once again submitted a resolution to change the public speaking format. If you want to come out as a resident of Niagara Falls because you have an issue that's not being discussed on our agenda, you have to wait until the end of the meeting, after the meeting is adjourned, and then they allow you to speak to the body. That could be in our meetings, the way this group operates that runs the legislature right now, 10:30 at night. They go into caucuses during the meeting that sometimes last up to an hour, keeping the public waiting. So we wanted to do this where it's at the beginning of the meeting, just like Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls allows you to come in, speak to the body about any issue, and let them move on. If they don't want to stay to watch the agenda be run, so be it. In our case, you have to stay for all the presentations, then the public speaking on agenda items, then their long unneeded caucuses, then the agenda, then you can address your elected officials. It's wrong. It's disrespectful. These are the people that are paying the salaries of everyone in Niagara County. Let them have their say. Why are you going to make people stay that? So that's the reason why they're able to keep 4 or 5 people in attendance for a legislative meeting. There's some nights we have nobody. So in Niagara Falls, depending on what the issue is, you're going to have a full house. Now, we handle, in Niagara Falls, you're handling a lot more quality of life issues. You're going to have the public safety, the DPW, the parks, I guess in some form the water. The garbage, that's something we constantly talking about. In Niagara County, it's more social services, the sheriff's department, the jail. There's not the issues are different.
Right.
But it still seems like it's being used, having people talk at the end of the meeting almost as a strategy to suppress public input.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't know what they're thinking of when they did this back in 2010 or 9 when this was first implemented, but numerous times we've attempted to change it back to the way it should be, and it's been voted down without any debate. So
it seems like they don't want to listen to criticism.
That's the way I look at it, but the criticism's still going to be there whether you let them speak at a meeting or not. So
well, and as the increase at the council meetings, I can definitely see that does affect the way the votes are. If they're there and no one's in the audience, they can vote any way they want, and they're the kings and queens. But with a whole crowd full of people in there, all of a sudden they're kind of looking. Oh, wait, these are my bosses in the crowd, and I gotta respond. So I encourage more and more people who want to get involved. Don't just sit there and complain. Show up. It's better than going to the Regal, and they don't upsize your Pepsi order.
Sometimes,
want a medium. Well, you sure you wouldn't want to? If you get a large, it's only I want a medium, and that bothers me. So I could tell them that in the beginning of the meeting. But it is more entertaining than going to the Regal, and you have an effective way to show your leaders that you care. So that's kind of cool.
Yep. So the other thing is it gives everyone a chance to speak. The problem is right now there's so many negative things that are in the press, on social media. You don't get a chance a lot to talk about the good stuff that's going on in the area. I'm 40 years old. I want to see before I turn 80 years old our city start to revert. And I guess one of the things that bothers me is when people talk about what it was in the 60s, what it was in the 70s. How about what it's going to be in 5 years? That's more what I'm interested in. You want to grow into something more than saying, forget about 1960, 1970. Those days are gone.
Yeah.
Industry's gone. It's but you have to grow your city from your downtown in.
Sure.
It's almost like we're two separate, actually 3 separate cities. You have DeVoe and LaSalle that are doing well. The LaSalle area is thriving right now. The business area, Niagara Falls Boulevard, Military Road. DeVoe is always, it's well-kept area. It's doing well. Then you have the inner city, which certainly has its problems right now with crime, infrastructure issues. And then downtown's kind of becoming its own area. And you're seeing that change. Nobody can deny that what's going on when you're talking $300 million worth of projects.
Yeah.
And this is where the county and city and the state, everyone has to work together to make this happen.
Cool.
And that's what I like to talk about.
So tell us some good things that are going on in the city then. Things that you're looking forward to working on if you are elected. Like you said, let's not talk about the bad stuff.
The
Give me a
negative,
good
yeah.
thing. Give
I
me
was
a good
recently accused of being too optimistic and positive, and I completely disagree with that because I think that for every problem there is a solution, and that's why I'm optimistic. And I think we're starting to see that downtown. Anytime I drive downtown and I see a shovel in the ground, to me, that's progress. That's us solving a problem right there. Driving along and seeing the removal of the Robert Moses, to me, that's progress being made right there. And we're not going to change this city overnight. It's not going to happen. It took us a long time to get here. It's going to take us some time to grow. So what you want to do is take that momentum of doing things like the removal of the parkway and start to spread that inward as well. You know, look at Buffalo, for example, and what they're able to do with their harborfront development. Now, you have a huge medical corridor there. You have new buildings going up all the time, which means new jobs all the time, and you have good even jobs that have good wages as well. So we're not just talking about hospitality jobs. That's the kind of stuff that we can bring here to Niagara Falls, but you have to keep playing on this momentum. We have to break a cycle of negativity that started even before my generation. I feel like a lot of our parents got into this slump of saying it's not what it was in the 60s, you know, and started placing blame everywhere, and then that translated to the kids being negative and wanting to move away. And that's the kind of stuff we have to break. There is stuff that's happening here. Go downtown, you can see it. And now we have to translate that to economic prosperity for everyone. So let's somehow translate that development to helping the poverty issue. I mean, we still do have a lot of problems. We have a huge poverty problem. But the way to start changing that is to keep fostering this growth in the downtown area.
Cool.
Now, you have a city that isn't shrinking in size. You're shrinking in population, certainly, but you still have a city that's this big, and instead of being full with this many people, you have a fraction of that, but you still have to provide the services for a city that big. So you've already cut out, over the last 20 years, the city's cut down so much where you hear the complaints about the plowing, you hear, you know, the trees in the summertime, we've had the crime. We've had the issues where the services have been cut so much in the last 20 years, you're at a point you can't cut them anymore. Now you have to make do. There's only one way out of that, is to grow your way out of it. And where's the only, well, I shouldn't say the only place, LaSalle's pretty much done it already, where it's left, downtown. You have a natural wonder of the world right here. You're starting to see the growth. We're seeing now, you know, I tend to trust the hotel owners over the politicians. I hear people saying, I hear naysayers saying, why we don't need more hotels, we don't need more hotels. Well, if someone who owns 2 or 3 hotels is saying, I'm going to invest here, I'm trusting the fact that they've done the research and they know the rooms that are needed and what's going on and why they would invest that kind of money in Niagara Falls. So you wouldn't have 7 or 8 different hotel owners right now all doing this if there wasn't a need for the rooms. So once that's going, you are going to start seeing the entertainment, the activities, the food, the retail. But just like with anything in New York State, it needs to be incentivized. Do we all like that? No. But unfortunately, it's a fact of life until the economic climate changes. So, and that's where the IDAs come in, and we have to reform that to make sure it's being done for the best interest of the taxpayers.
And then on the other end, just making sure that people's basic needs are being taken care of as well. So in LaSalle, on Buffalo Ave, are we paving Buffalo Avenue? You know, I mean, very basic things like that we should be taking care of first. The next couple years for us, it's going to be very tight fiscally. So we have to start taking a look at where are we spending our money, and is it going to the right areas? You know, because at the end of the day, I mean, first you have to take care of those basic needs. Yes, we need investment into economic development opportunities, and we need to bring entertainment, but at the same time,
Let's get water in the houses.
let's get water in the houses first. Absolutely. That should be priority number one.
You know, just the thought that the naysaying, and it goes back historically with people maybe that tried something and failed, and therefore don't want to see someone else try the same thing and succeed because that makes them look worse. Well, I guess we got to take that attitude on. We're sorry you tried to open a restaurant on this street and it didn't work. That doesn't mean no one else should try, but a lot of that is the flavor. Someone tries to get something else going and they go, oh, that won't work because we tried that years ago.
Well, look,
so I think there's people trying stuff now.
And
that's kind of
and people have a right to be naysayers on this. Look at this city certainly hasn't met its potential in the last 30 years. And it's been a long era, and the people that are upset have been here for the whole time, and they have a right to be. But what I see is, let's take a look at what's going on. And it's not like you have to look at New York City, Philadelphia. All you have to do is go 20 miles south of here and see in Buffalo what's gone on. I worked there for 10 years as a paramedic in the inner city of Buffalo. I saw in the late 90s, early 2000s, a city that you look at and said, this just close the door. It can't be fixed. Well, they did fix it. They realized when you have a waterfront, you can fix anything. Well, guess what? We have our entire city is basically surrounded by water.
Really?
If we develop that properly and pushes everything inland, it anywhere where you have a good waterfront and you're utilizing it properly, you're going to see growth around it, business-wise. So all you have to do is take a look at Buffalo, see what's going on in Elmwood Avenue, the medical corridor, with UB. We have NU and NCCC involved down here. The pieces are there. We just have to have everyone working together to put it together.
Cool. Well, we're glad you two know each other because we are confident you can work together. And again,
I like seeing new people getting involved too. Whether even if it's not me, if I'm not there doing it, that someone else that's aggressive and wants to see things happen steps in. I think Alicia will do a good job on the council. We need more people. You know, when you ran
4 years ago.
4 years ago, so since then you didn't just after that race you didn't just pack it up. You've stayed involved in a lot of groups to betterment the city, and that's what I like to see more. And it doesn't have, I don't like to even say young people. I don't even consider myself young anymore. If Craig Avery wants to run for city council, you're certainly not a young man. No offense.
Oh, great.
But
But I think that's
people
Thinking I was.
but people that want to see change here. That's what I hope get involved.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's just, I think, something small that, we can all do, is starting to foster that feeling of excitement in our youth. Because I don't even consider myself, to be, I'm not as young as I was when I ran last time, obviously. And I'm trying to even cultivate new young talent as well, and getting new young people involved in the city and get them excited about what it is we're trying to do. And that's what we should all be doing, is trying to continue to engage people. I mean, that's who's going to be, they're going to be our leaders of the city. So let's keep trying that. And hopefully, we can lead by example. And I think that we've both done a good job. Of getting involved and showing that we can do this. You don't just have to be part of the old guard and go along with his politics the way that they were. I think there's a new a new era of development that's happening right now in the city and the county, and I think we're part of that, and we hope to keep moving that forward.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. I've got to go because there's a Benny Goodman knockoff band playing down the street that I just love. So, old guy. But it was great to see you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Come back again and talk about your council race kind of a thing, or
Okay.
whatever goes on. And
I'm used to being in here when you're having Monday night parties with
Monday night
cigars and Pepsi and football. And
Instead, this is
so
Thursday night
nice
rain.
in here now.
Thursday night
It was
rain.
nice getting out of the
So,
rain for a few minutes.
Cool.
So on to the next one.
Very good.
Thank
All
you.
right, great.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Man,